MMA Rants and Raves, The Ultimate Fighter Season 13 Finale, Post-Fight Review. Guys, this card was pretty exciting, and it seemed to even outperform the card that just happened a week prior. I mean, some of these fights were really exciting and also had title implications, so they were very significant fights as well. I'm going to go over some of the main fights. I'm going to start off with Kingsbury versus Maldonado. Very tough, gritty fight between two very tough guys. I mean, Kingsbury is a guy that you saw coming in the early Ultimate Fighters. He was away for a while, came back, and now he's showing a lot of great skills. He brings in that very high level athleticism, and now he has all these mixed martial arts talents. I mean, he was displaying really accurate, very hard leg kicks, front kicks, nice Muay Thai clinches. He was getting those in, and really good high-level wrestling. And he was displaying that. He was shooting for takedowns with speed. I mean, this is a light heavyweight. This is a big man. I mean, very athletic, in great shape. I mean, showing good cardio too. And, he was just fighting a guy in Maldonado, who, by the way, is a very tough guy. I mean, he was in a lot of those Thai clinches. I mean, he was taking knees, and at the same time, he was throwing body punches. The guy has great hands. I mean, incredibly tough, took a lot of punishment, especially in that first round. And it seems like Kingsbury was the guy who was doing more active. Maldonado was very aggressive. Kingsbury was showing that he was countering very well. And also Maldonado's guard was very well. I mean, he protected himself very well on the ground. When Kingsbury got him down, he did very well protecting himself. So first round, give to Kingsbury. Second round, Maldonado was coming in stronger. It was a close round. But Kingsbury also, like I said, as in the first round, he was doing more damage. He was landing more strikes, so it seemed. And then if you look at the third round, I would have to give that to Maldonado. It seemed like he hurt Kingsbury. His left eye was looking really bad, and it looked like he was really coming on strong in that third round. It was a close, gritty fight, really good fight. And Kingsbury comes out on top. Kingsbury is a guy to look out for, by the way, in this increasingly stacked light heavyweight division. I mean, the guy is a beast. I mean, you're talking about a guy who can shoot for takedowns with speed, which is a rare thing that you see in the light heavyweight division. So this guy is definitely a guy to look out for. He's well-rounded. I mean, he's good with the Thai clinch. It seemed like he had to work on that a bit, because it seemed like Maldonado was throwing the body punches. But, then again, not many people would do that. They'd be more interested in protecting themselves from those knees and getting out of it. Maldonado just took a lot of punishment. Very tough guy. So, it was a really good fight. And then moving on to the Ultimate Fighter finale between the two finalists, Nijam versus Tony Ferguson. I mean, I'm very impressed by this guy, Ferguson. And I was mentioning that Lesnar was doing a good job as a coach in my other vlog. And now I see what's been happening here. I mean, he actually mentioned in the show that this kid has a chance to win this whole thing. And here we are. So Lesnar saw something in this guy. And this is before this happened, that that he was able to win. He wasn't even the first pick. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, he seems way ahead of the pack as far as these other fighters who were talented fighters in the show. I mean, this guy's really, really talented. I mean, I watched him against Chuck O'Neal, and he was showing really talented boxing, very crisp. His hands are very quick. He has great head movement. I mean, he moves his legs around, dances around. I mean, he kind of looks like Dominic Cruz in a way, and really quick. The guy's a welterweight, so that's pretty impressive. And it's the way he throws his punches and his kicks, the way he retracts them, he recoils them, because that's important, because you have to repeat the assault. So when you get them back quicker, you can hit again, and he's very good at doing that. He has a lot of quickness in his hands, and he hits hard. You can see, you can hear the crack in those kicks when he threw them in the O'Neal fight. And he protects himself well. He uses his hands to protect himself, and he backs up well. And the interesting thing is, what I didn't expect, because I was watching the show, he was displaying very good wrestling skills. That's the interesting thing about the Ultimate Fighter show, because Chris Cope also fought well, by the way, in the Ultimate Fighter show. But he looked like a Taekwondo machine. And when you watched the show, you saw Chris Cope. They really weren't talking about much of his skills. They just said, "Oh, Chris." They were mentioning they couldn't put the finger on it. He's winning and all this. And the guy's a Taekwondo machine. in The Ultimate Fighter. And basically, in The Ultimate Fighter, you basically saw him up against the cage, showing great takedown defense, incredible balance that he had, but he wasn't letting his hands go. And then in this fight, you see a different story. And the point I want to make is the reason is because, of course, the show is taped a while ago, and this is a live event, so these guys obviously learned a lot. And of course, maybe, I don't know why, I mean, it didn't seem they didn't mention things in the show about Cope's Taekwondo. I don't remember them mentioning that. And now you have Ferguson, who's out wrestling the wrestler, you know? I mean, if you remember in one of the fights in The Ultimate Fight, he got taken down, and he showed this up kick where she knocked the guy out with an up kick. And now you see him out wrestling the wrestler, so I didn't expect that. That was pretty interesting, and this is something that he learned. You know, it's something, I mean, on the show, it's something that he always had, which they mentioned as far as the commentators during the fight. So, you know, this kid is well-rounded. I mean, he's a really good wrestler. He's got great hands, like I said, great leg kicks. He's got a good chin. He can take some punishment. Looks like he was taking some punches. Wow, I mean, that knockout was like, he dropped this guy like a bad habit. My goodness. I mean, that was a vicious left hook. Just dropped him. He was out. This was no TKO. This was KO. I mean, this guy was just knocking everybody out. I can't remember an Ultimate Fighter that came in with such momentum. And like I said, he wasn't even the first pick, so I don't know where this guy came from. I mean, I think that this is a guy that can really do some serious damage in the UFC. And you have to be able to, because this welterweight division is the backbone of the UFC, in my opinion. I mean, this is such an amazingly stacked division. I mean, you have to be excellent to be successful, especially in this division. So I think this kid has a chance to do some damage. I mean, he's just showing a very well-rounded game. And, you know, he's dangerous. He's dangerous fighter, and really interesting to watch. Now, the most significant fight of the evening, in my opinion, was, of course, Guida versus Pettis. And, you know, guys, if you just watch the fight, it's really interesting as far as where Pettis is coming from. You can't blame Pettis as far as his game plan. You know, he shouldn't mind being taken down. It was no secret with Guida. He was actually mentioning before the fight that he was going to take him down. So there was no secret about his game plan. That's what he wanted to do, and that's exactly what he was doing. He had no trouble taking Pettis to the ground. But Pettis, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, can see that Guida was a guy who's been submitted before. And you could just see how busy Pettis was on the ground. I mean, he wasn't protecting himself or worried about ground and pound or anything. I mean, he was constantly looking for wrists, trying to throw up triangles, very busy, very active on his back, very talented kid. But he just couldn't get anything going on Guida. And that's the thing about Guida, this kid just continues to evolve. I mean, it was amazing. And I want to add a point. I mean, when he was constantly in his guard, when he took him down, you could see Guida's head constantly bobbing forward, going forward. His hands were also protecting himself. He was trying to throw those legs away. I mean, he was very good with his submission defense. I was blown away with Guida's submission defense because, you know, he was basically putting himself in danger all the time. I mean, it's as far as exposure, that's the word. He was exposing himself over a long period of time, giving Pettis multiple opportunities to get in that triangle. But Pettis just couldn't get it in. It looked like at one point he had it in, but, you know, Guida just ripped out of it. Very strong guy, Guida, too. Guida had the strength, the physical strength advantage in this fight. And, you know, the kid is about, 5'7"? He doesn't have a long reach. He's very compact. His limbs, his body, he's wide. He's very compact for that weight class. He's a perfect natural lightweight. And it makes him very tough because he's such a high-level wrestler. And there's very few people that can stop the takedowns. Another point is, he's not just a very talented wrestler as far as in close proximity. He closes distance well. I mean, I saw Pettis, who's a very quick guy, by the way, extremely quick. You can see how he handles himself in the striking game. I mean, he's got incredible agility. Probably one of the most agile lightweights out there. And, you know, Guida was coming in a very, very high speed as far as shooting for those takedowns. It was like GSP-esque. You know, he comes in very close, and as far as the proximity, he can come from a distance and close those distances. And, you know, I'm sure that Pettis was trying to stop those takedowns to a point because he saw that he wasn't able to get the submissions in. I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, obviously, he has the advantage standing up in this fight. And what was great about Guida, was very impressive about the way he was fighting was, you know, it opened up his striking game. And, you know, when you're constantly being taken down, you don't expect to get hit. And it seemed like when Guida was trying to throw some punches, you know, Pettis wasn't ready for it because you don't expect it. And he was landing. He did well. So it's great to have that high-level wrestling because it opens up your striking. even when you're at a disadvantage in the striking game. And, you know, Guida's just a beast. I mean, he just took this guy down, just grinded him out. I mean, the submission defense was incredible. I was very impressed with Guida. I mean, this guy is just about ready for a title shot. The way I see the picture is I would like to see Guida face Miller, Jim Miller, and the winner of that fight should get a title shot. That's the way I see it. I mean, this kid is just, he continues to evolve. I mean, he's got great cardio. He's just a machine. I mean, very tough guy. He's never been knocked out. He's been hit hard many times. He can take punches. His wrestling is great. I mean, it's opening up his striking. His submission defense was remarkable. I mean, a guy like Pettis, who's so good on his back, couldn't get anything going with the submissions. And as far as Pettis is concerned, it's just like, again, benefit of hindsight. What he has to do is just be more elusive, work on his takedown defense when he deals with high-level wrestlers, and he'll be fine. So it was a great fight, two really good fighters. And overall, I mean, this card was, you know, really good. A lot of good fights. Very impressed with it. And like I said, free card with a pay-per-view caliber. I would like to know what you thought about the Ultimate Fighter Season 13 finale and all the fights on the card. Please leave your comments below the video, rate this video, and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in.